My name's Mark. I've lived in the same compound for the past 4 years, nothing fancy, just a quiet two-story building with 6 flats in a decent part of town. The kind of place where people keep to themselves but still nod or smile when you pass them on the stairs. It's peaceful, uneventful, and that's how I liked it. About 6 months ago, a new tenant moved in next door, a young guy named Jason. He was probably in his early 20s, maybe 22. Slim build, always wore headphones around his neck, and had that soft-spoken kind of vibe. At first, we didn't talk much beyond the usual good morning or how far, when we met by the gate. But over time, we started chatting more, especially when we both happened to be outside at the same time for one reason or the other. Jason seemed like a good kid. A bit too quiet, maybe. Polite. Always home early. Didn't seem to have many friends or visitors. I didn't think much of it. We weren't close, but we got along well enough to the point where, once in a while, he'd ask for help with little things, like lifting a heavy stuff too much for one person, borrowing a screwdriver, things like that, but I started to notice odd things. It began with small stuff. Sometimes, I'd hear him walking in the hallway around 2 or 3 a.m. The floors are tiled, and sound travels in the building, so it was weird hearing pacing that late. Other times, I'd hear his door creak open and then close again, like he was stepping out. Then changing his mind. Once, I even saw him just standing outside in the compound at night. No phone, no cigarette, nothing. Just standing, like he was listening for something. When I called out, he didn't respond immediately. Just kind of blinked and then smiled awkwardly. Said he couldn't sleep. I chalked it up to insomnia, stress, maybe anxiety. But yeah, there was something off. Still, I didn't think too much of it. I had my own life, my job, my routine. Then came the weekend that changed everything. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I was about to head out for a friend's birthday gathering. Nothing wild, just a hangout at a lounge. I was locking my door when Jason popped out of his flat. He looked rough, like he hadn't slept. Pale, with dark circles under his eyes. "Bro," he said, "are you going out?" "Yeah," I replied. "Birthday thing." "Why?" He hesitated. "I know this is weird, but can I come with you?" It caught me off guard. Jason had never asked to hang out before. But something in his tone sounded desperate. Not needy, more like someone trying to get away from something. I shrugged. "Sure. Let's go." We got into my car, a 2009 Toyota Corolla I've had for years, and hit the road. The air was heavy. He didn't talk much, and when I asked what was up, he just mumbled something about bad dreams and needing noise and people to clear his head. The sun was beginning to set as we cruised along the highway. About 20 minutes into the drive, something happened that I still can't fully explain. As I approached a bend on the expressway, a trailer coming from the opposite direction suddenly swerved into our lane. I barely had time to react. I gripped the wheel and yanked left. The tires screeched. Jason shouted. And then everything exploded. Metal shrieked. Glass shattered. I felt the car lift and flip once, twice, before crashing into a ditch. My head slammed against the window. My vision went black. When I came to, I was upside down, hanging from my seatbelt. My ears were ringing. Blood dripped down my face. I looked to my right. Jason wasn't moving, he was still. His head had hit the passenger window so hard, it cracked like a spiderweb. There was blood, too much of it. The smell of gasoline was thick. I fumbled with the seatbelt, crawled out through the broken window, and collapsed on the grass, Jason never made it out. They said I was lucky. That I survived what could have been a fatal crash with just a concussion and a couple of fractured ribs. But I didn't feel lucky. Not even close. Jason died on impact. There wasn't anything I could have done. I tried pulling him out when I came to, but his body was limp, and his head. I won't describe it. You don't unsee something like that. For days after the accident, everything was a blur. Police reports. Insurance forms. My car was totaled. I kept replaying the moment in my head over and over. What if I hadn't let him come with me? What if I'd driven slower? What if I'd taken another route? I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I stayed home from work for 2 weeks. Barely leaving my flat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it, Jason's face right before the crash, the look of panic, and then silence. But then, it changed. It started with nightmares. I'd be driving alone, and suddenly look over to the passenger seat and there he was. Silent. Bloody. Just staring. Other nights, I'd relive the crash, but this time he'd turn to me mid-drive and say something I couldn't understand, his mouth moving, but no sound coming out. Then I began hearing things when I was awake, footsteps outside my door late at night. A knock, 3 slow knocks at exactly 2:47 a.m., 2 nights in a row. I checked the peephole both times. No one was there. And yet, I knew it was him. One night, I woke up to the sound of my bathroom faucet running. I live alone. I walked in. And it stopped. The mirror was fogged, like someone had just taken a hot shower. Then came the 3rd week. That's when I saw him. It was about 11 p.m. I was lying on my couch, TV still on, when I heard movement behind me. I turned and Jason was standing there, soaked in blood. Half his skull caved in. His body still wearing what he had on the day of the crash. I froze. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. He didn't move. Just stared at me with dead, empty eyes. Then he mouthed something. "You left me." I blinked and he was gone. That moment broke me. I slept with the lights on. Slept on the couch. Sometimes not at all. And each time I did sleep, he'd return, closer. Angrier. One night, I found him standing over me while I was frozen in sleep paralysis. He was whispering something repeatedly, almost like chanting. I couldn't make it out, until the last few words, "You have to finish it." Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I screamed at him. In the middle of the night, standing in my hallway, I shouted, "What do you want from me?" And to my shock he answered, "Not right away." But later that same night, he came again. This time, he didn't look angry. He looked tired. He said, in a voice I recognized but never thought I'd hear again, "I couldn't rest. Not until they know." "Who?" I asked. "My mom. My sister. There's something in my room. Top drawer. Burn it. Then go tell them what happened. Everything. The truth." I didn't know what he meant by the truth. But the next day, when it was light, I went into his apartment. The landlord hadn't re-rented it yet, so the door was still sealed. But I knew where he kept the key. I let myself in. It was eerie. Dusty. Still had that faint scent of cheap cologne and stale air. I found the drawer. Inside was a small notebook. Pages filled with scribbled writing, some of it nonsense. Some of it dark. Stuff about seeing shadows at night and hearing voices from the mirror. Near the end, he wrote something that chilled me to the bone. "If anything happens to me, tell them I tried. Tell them I didn't want this to happen. Tell them I'm sorry." I burned the notebook that night in an old oil drum behind the compound. It stank, like plastic and rotten paper. Then I did what he asked. I found his family. His mom wept when I told her everything. She said he had been struggling with something, hallucinations, paranoia, but refused to get help. And after that, Jason came back, just once. It was a few nights later. I woke up around 3 a.m. And there he was, standing at the foot of my bed. No blood this time. No deformities. He looked normal. Peaceful. He smiled, and said, "Thank you." Then he vanished. That was the last time I saw him, but even after all that, even after it was over, I couldn't stay in that flat. Every time I walked past his door, I felt it. Like the air was heavier there. Like the walls still remembered, so I moved. New place. New area. Quieter, but sometimes, when I pass by a mirror at night, or hear faint footsteps in the hall, I wonder if Jason really said goodbye. Or if a part of him still lingers, waiting for someone else to listen.